Hello guys, in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to go about presenting your UX myth. So the myth that I chose was myth number one, which is that people read on the web. So now I'm going to explain why this is a myth through memes, which are pretty popular, especially among my high school students. The reason I like memes is they're really good at communicating a specific feeling or situation that's sometimes really hard to put into words. So, this is how companies think visitors browse their websites. All right, so you can see this monkey's looking very intently and closely at this New York Stock Exchange type paper. All right, and this is how visitors really browse their websites. All right. And now for an example using SpongeBob. How companies think visitors browse their websites and how visitors really browse their websites. All right. So I think you get the point, right? And hopefully some of you, I'm sure, can relate to this. So I'm going to give it a negative example that I found on the web of why this myth of users read is a myth. So if you look at this lovely website here, you can see it's pretty much entirely text, besides that little Get Adobe Flash player, which uh, Flash has pretty much been kind of the way of the dinosaur for the past 10 years or so. So if I had to ask, if I were to ask you, would you read through all of these links and all of this text to learn more about superior web solutions? Your answer would likely be no. Usually, when you're looking for something, you're just going straight for the answer. You're not like reading all these abouts and everything. And this is how I feel when I see these kinds of sites. So I'm going to give a positive example of why the myth is a myth. So this is, I think, a really well-designed website called WordMinds. They have a very clear, bold, eye-catching title, which is your go-to translation agency, followed by a very short explanation in a very light, modern font. Stay focused on your core business and let us take care of the translation requests, big or small. Take a look at the list of our services. Take a look is highlighted. Instant quote is in green. In the top right, you'll notice pricing is in a green button, and then they have this nice large Japanese hiragana character. So, and they also make very nice use of white space around the text. So this is a very unintimidating way of presenting the graphics. You get the point quickly. They visualize it for you, and they use very nice, comforting, friendly, professional language. And they make their call to actions, which are the buttons, very clear and eye-catching. So now let me demonstrate why this myth is a myth. Okay, so this is the text that I took from the article about myth number one. Go ahead, read through this. No, I'm kidding. Most people roll their eyes when they see all this. This is just like way too much for people to read nowadays. Let me now show you the right way to present your information. So people only read word by word if they're interested in the content. Okay, so this is a select quote I took from the article that I thought summarized the reality of the situation very nicely. And not only did I only use one sentence, but I bolded the main keywords and made them much larger. And I put that little quotation mark just to show you that it's a quote. And then I followed it with, they usually skim the pages looking for highlighted keywords, meaningful headings, short paragraphs, and scannable lists. And in my layout, I'm actually demonstrating this. I've highlighted the word skim. I've used meaningful headings, which I did in this one and the previous one. I use short paragraphs. In this case, I only use a couple sentences, and scannable lists, which I've made in the form of a list. So I'm demonstrating in these two slides how to actually do it, how to actually make your text readable. So now it's your turn. So what you'll be doing for this assignment is pretty much the same thing that I've done, but choosing one of the other myths. Now it can get a little confusing since a myth is kind of like a negative. A myth is like a falsehood. So we kind of have to think about things backwards. So if the myth is users read on the web, then the truth is that they don't read on the web. So you'll have to kind of think of your myth in terms of, well, what is the truth then? And so just going back, when I say a negative and a positive example, so this is a negative example because it's demonstrating why the myth is a myth. The myth is users read, but you're not going to read all this. So it's kind of showing it in terms of why it's a myth because, yeah, you're not actually going to read. And then showing a positive example is basically, well, what's the right way to do it? Okay, so that's kind of the way to think about how to do this assignment. So that's it for now. Please let me know if you have any questions.